All right, very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Once again from the flight deck, welcome to another stream of A Pilot's Life with me, Captain Nabs. And we are back for back for Chapter 2, Season 9 of A Pilot's Life. We did the first flight last week, and as you can see, we've got a brand new airplane at our disposal here, a brand new airline. So for those of you that don't recognize that logo, we are now working for Alaska Airlines here at... in the good old US of A, and today we are taking off from, let's see here, where is it? Today we're taking off from San Francisco, KSFO, and we're going up to KPDX, Portland, Oregon. So it's not a very long flight. It's about an hour and 40 minutes of airtime, I believe. So it's about a 2-hour flight. Should be about a 2.5-hour stream to get this whole thing done today. But that's what we've got on tap for today. I'm enjoying this switching up the aircraft. As much as I like the CRJ, I like the 737 better, and not just from a sim perspective, although I think that the PMDG 737 is definitely a better what's the word I'm looking for here? It's definitely a better simulation. The PMDG 737 is definitely a better simulation than the Aerosoft CRJ, but I just like the airplane in general better, mostly because it is a little bit more automated, which leaves me a little bit more time to chat with you guys, especially as I am not... I'm only pretty much flying this about once a week on stream. Maybe I might squeeze in another flight in the middle, but it's not very often. So the 737, I just find it's a little bit more user-friendly, I think, than the CRJ. Certainly for someone who's not flying it regularly. Most airplanes become very friendly when you fly them very regularly, but just because I'm not flying it on a daily basis or multiple times a week, the CRJ, I find it drifts away from me quickly. The 737 feels a little bit more familiar. Better plane, that's the word you're looking for. Hello, Travis, welcome. And speaking of Travis, and hey, there's me. Hey, Travis, how's it going? Welcome, everybody, to the stream. And yeah, we're going to get this going here in a minute. Before we get going, I just got a text message. And so I want to just point out one very important thing that has just been announced, literally has just been posted, and that is some very exciting news for anybody that watched my channel, and for anyone that participates in the VATSIM network. And that is that as of just now, the VATSIM has announced that they are forming a charitable organization based in the United States. So up until now, VATSIM had been technically owned by the founders and directed by the founders to help ensure the longevity of the network. The founders have agreed to transfer control of the VATSIM network to an organization called VATSIM Inc., which is basically a charitable organization that is just solely created just to run the operation and have it be a permanent entity rather than rely on the founders. You know, over time the founders have drifted away, some of them, and become less involved in the network. So this is partly a longevity situation in order to ensure that the VATSIM network continues to thrive for the next 20 years and beyond. They want to make sure that there is a succession plan in place, as it were, to make sure that there is a future, that they're not reliant on the founders forever to continue to monitor, manage the network, and also fund the network. The founders especially have put a lot of their personal funding into the network to keep it up and running. So with VATSIM Inc. achieving a charitable status in the United States, you can now donate to the organization. And they have just launched as well, hand in hand with this announcement, they have launched a new page called donate.vatsim.net. It takes you directly to this donation page where you can donate any amount that you wish, and it does not at all reflect what happens on the VATSIM network. You don't even have to be logged into VATSIM to donate on this website. You can simply make an anonymous donation. It's very important to emphasize that at no point will this become a pay-for-play operation. No one who donates any amount of money will get any special treatment on the network. It is just simply a chance for those who do love the network, enjoy the network, and have the financial ability to give back to the network to support the infrastructure costs of running the network. Servers are not free. A lot of the software that sort of helps to run the website and the back end is not free. And has been supported in the past by many donations by founders and others. So just 1 second, I've got to go and check on something now. Alright guys, sorry about that. I heard a dog fight starting to happen upstairs, so I had to go and take care of that. Separate them. Anyways, where was I? Yeah, so anyone who wants to now can go to donate.vatsim.net and donate, and if you check the VATSIM forums, you'll see a whole posting from the president of the network explaining the changes and what they mean for the future. Basically, it is solidifying the future of the VATSIM network for the long run. After 20 years of being owned and run by the founders, it's now going to be a separate charitable organization that's going to that will be able to hopefully fund its own operation through donations of the membership. So I think that's a great idea, and allow me to be one of the first here. It's not going to be much, and it's certainly not the amount that I would like to give, but money is not exactly... You make this donation anonymous. On behalf of companies, subscribe to mailing list. Optionally, add $2.32 to cover the processing fee. Sure, we'll do that. And yeah, it's definitely not enough. My personal financial situation is not great right now, so I'm donating what I think I can, and I encourage everyone who wants to do the same, under no obligation to ever do it. And I will definitely make other donations in the future as my financial situation kind of improves again. So, but there you go. I don't know if that's the first donation you're going to get officially through this website, but there is something for the VATSIM network as a thank you for the years of enjoyment I've got out of this network. I have certainly enjoyed it for years. I've given back in terms of my time, but it's nice to also be able to support the infrastructure that helps keep this network up and running. So I encourage anybody who's watching the stream or watching this after the fact, please do the same. If you enjoy VATSIM at all, whatever amount you can. If you can only afford $5, donate $5. You know, a cup of the price of a cup of coffee. Donate whatever you feel you can, whatever you feel is appropriate. But donate something, please. I think it's such a worthwhile cause. It's such a well-run network, such a great community. Most of the time, occasionally it does have its issues, but for the most part, I think we can all come together and share our love of aviation. So, yeah. Don't want to delay too long to talk about that, but thank you very much, Tim Barber, President of VATSIM, for sending me that quick note that said that they had posted this. I've been asking for this for a while, actually, personally, not necessarily the charitable status, but for a donation page where I can personally donate small, not a huge amount. I don't have a whole server farm that I can donate, but reasonable, kind of somewhat semi-regular donations, just to help run the network that I enjoy so much and that I've gotten so much out of. I have the means to definitely give something. And as my means grow, I will definitely give more. So I encourage you all to do the same and help keep this network up and running. Thank you so much to everybody who does do it in advance. All right. Minor distraction there, but thank you again, Tim, for that. Let's hop in the airplane and let's get started with this flight today because I don't want it to take too long. I have to, at the end of the day, I have to be done in time to go get my kids from school. So... we should have plenty of time to get this flight done, but not if we dilly-dally forever. My target takeoff time is 20, or my target off the gate time is 20 minutes from now, so I don't know if that's going to work out, but we're going to certainly try. We're going to give it the good old college try. And actually, one more thing I just remembered I need to make sure I do is actually, I almost forgot to run FSU IPC. Start that running, and my flight simulator is connected, so it knows that we're doing something here. All right. Let's start setting up.
Roger.
As always, I've got my FS2Crew, my GSX, all my favorite little utilities here on the side. We don't even have Alaska as an option here, huh? I don't even know who Alaska's allied with, so sure, JetBlue will do anyways for something.
Please don't load aircraft until the fuel truck arrives and ask to do it.
All right, I will not. And, of course, there goes the jetway again. Ah, you stupid jetway. I am forever calling you back. All right. For some reason, this FO does not want to power up this airplane. And I can never seem to get... I don't know what happened to FS2Crew, but it seems to disappear on me now. It should be here somewhere. There it is. But for some reason, it's not showing up in my taskbar anymore, which is a bit odd. Anywho. All right, so now I've triggered the pre-flight procedure. I guess he took a minute or so to put his bag down and sit down and take off his jacket and whatever else. So now I have the pre-flight procedure as running. Is he actually trying to still do stuff without power? Because he is supposed to power up the airplane. All right, I'm going to give up. I'm going to power it up. Get the batteries on. Those. The IRS is going to nav. Alarm the emergency lights while we're at it. And, did I call the fuel truck? I did call the fuel truck, right? Yes, fuel truck is on its way. So he wasn't going to power it up. He's going to do all these pre-flight checks, but he wasn't actually going to power it up before he did these checks, which would be kind of useless. So, anywho, we will get ready to start this flight up here. FMCs are starting to boot. The screen should come online here shortly, so let's go ahead and get this going here. And it's a pretty straightforward flight today for anyone that wants to join us. It's about an hour and a half flight in the 737. It's a pretty short flight. And let's pull it up here. And there we go. All right, so let's just make sure we've got what we need to get going here.
I'm heading out for the walk around.
Okay, thank you. All right, so on the FMS down there at the bottom, and what I'll do is I will zoom it in a little more so you can see exactly what it's doing up there. So we have 737-800 with 26,000-pound engines, AirAct 2213, December 29th to January 26th. That is all correct. Position initialization, and go to the next page. And we should get the GPS here shortly. It just takes a couple seconds for it to. There we go. For the GPS to get enough satellites.
Please use your airplane fuel system to set the desired
to calculate its load there. Or sorry, to calculate its position there, excuse me, sorry. Now they're distracting me. Back to set IRS position. We'll get that IRS initializing by putting that those coordinates in there. And fuel. Today we're going to need 15.6, so we'll do about 15.9 in 15.8 maybe in the tanks, which is actually less. And I had actually gone in here and put it to a smaller value to begin with, and then
please use your airplane fuel system to
something was a little glitchy with the okay, let's do this. Let's go 8,000, and then we'll come back to 15.8. Maybe it will try and fuel that. I don't know. But yeah, I put it to a lower, but for some reason there was just a little glitchy with the aircraft, so I reloaded it, and I guess when I did that, it reloaded the fuel load. Hopefully it did not change my passenger payload here. It did a little bit. I believe we had 11 and 131. There we go. That's better. So that should match better now to what the planning is and the fuel burn that was planned. All right, so back into the route page for today. And we are starting off with KSFO, Origin, and KPDX, Portland, Oregon, for our destination today. The flight number is Alaska 207, I believe.
Hi, the security and safety check are all done. Are we good to start boarding?
Go for it.
Okay.
All right. The one thing about FS2Crew is that for that mute button to work that I turn on and off, I have to have the SIM window open. The SIM window has to be the active one, so that's why I had to switch away that flight plan momentarily. All right, so departure arrival button, and we'll do a departure from SFO. We are going to do today the, what is it, night departure, I think, night 3? Yeah, night 3 as far as Grateful. And what runway are we going to use for departure? That's actually a fantastic question. Let's pull up some weather. San Francisco weather, VATSIM, come on. Kind of abuse that network I donated to now. 250, 18, gusting 28. So it's a pretty strong crosswind if you depart the 1. So I'm going to say we're probably going to depart 28 left, I would think. And sorry, Grateful is the transition. So night 3 departure, Grateful transition off of runway 28 left, back to the route page, page 2. And from there it's direct Machu and the Timbers 2. So there you go, Timbers. direct Machu, and then departure arrival for PDX. It's the Timbers 2 arrival for 10 left is the plan. So I'll put in ILS for 10 left. We'll make it from Buxom and Timbers 2, Machu transition, and go back to the route page, and that should all be in there. So Machu, Timbers 2, 10 both, vector direct Buxom, and approach transition trail for ILS 10 left. Go ahead and activate that whole thing. And then we can do some performance initialization. So we can grab our ZFW out of our flight plan. The plan is 125.3. And the plan fuel is, we've got 15.8 right now, and we're going to go with that as the plan. Reserves, back to page 1. Final reserve plus alternate 54.78, so we'll do 5. We'll round it up to 5.5. Dug out at 5.5. The cost index today 9. We could probably bump that up if we need to as we go. And the cruising level today of 380. So I guess it is a slightly westbound flight. Cruise wind 270 at 18. And we can execute that whole performance section. And then into the N1 limits, and I'm going to go in here and let's see here. What am I looking for? Performance. So I have my performance package, or my performance app here. Just putting in KSFO, runway 28 left. It looks like dry runway out there today. The winds are very strong. 250. I'm just going to put 250 at 18. Outside air temperature of 12 degrees. Not the warmest day in San Francisco. Warmer than here, I guess, in Toronto, but 2966. And we'll do flaps 5 because that'll probably get us our best takeoff performance. The estimated takeoff weight is the other thing I need here. It's planned at 140,400. And weight seems to be too high. Alright, so can I go with a higher flap setting? Maybe flaps 10. Because this one won't change my... Oh, 140,500 kilograms, yeah. The app always defaults to the metric units. There we go. All right, so for flap 5, we should be able to do a non-derate takeoff.
No issues
with
on
a
the
flex
walk
of
around. Good airplane.
48 degrees, and that's for flaps 5. I'm just going to cut and paste the C of G from the sim in there, and 127, 130, 137. 127, 130, 137, and unable 270 knots at portal due to our low cost index. Most likely we may be able to pick that up manually. Alright, so that is all set up. On the next page we can set our acceleration height and thrust reduction height to 1,000 feet if we wish, which is most of the airlines I've always worked at have preferred 1,000 feet over 1,500, but different airlines are allowed to have different different criteria. So we'll change those back to 1,000, so it feels more typical for me, anyways. I don't know what Alaska would actually use. All right, yeah. So that's it with the FMS. We can go ahead and go do our overhead flow. There we go. All right, just have a quick look through the whole flight deck, make sure everything's good. I don't know if anyone did the stall test yet. I don't think we did, so we'll do those. Engine controls are all normal. The alternate gear extension's on there. We don't need the dome light on. Yaw damper's on. It looks like he's gone through all these switches and already done everything for us. And you know what I didn't actually do? Was request boarding when the flight attendants requested boarding. So we'll go through that process there. I imagine the fuel truck should be gone by now. Yeah, the fuel truck gave up after a few minutes of me not doing anything. Alright, batteries are on. Captain Tilly's IFE passenger seats is on. We'll start the AP just in a couple minutes here once we're done our briefing. Here's our panel lighting's off. Equipment cooling's normal. Emergency lights are armed. Seatbelt sign is, we're going to put that on now. Now that the fuel's been boarded. And it looks like he's already set the ignition. Windshield heat's all on, probes are off, anti-ice is off, hydraulics, electrics are off, engines are on. Doors, we got the forward entry, cargo, forward and aft cargo
Hi.
open.
Here's the fuel slip.
Thanks.
Welcome. Have a nice flight.
Test the cockpit
P1
voice
board
recorder
crew.
for 5 seconds. We'll say everybody's on board just to get this process moving that much quicker.
Passengers boarding starting.
Passenger boarding is on its way. Hopefully the bridge did not retract again for like the 4th time. But it looks like it's staying in place. We got the recirc fans in auto. The packs are auto. Isolation valve is open. Engine bleeds are on. AP bleed is off right now. 38,000 feet, 50 feet for Portland. Sounds pretty reasonable. Alternate mode. And lighting across the bottom. We have the logo on with the position lights on. Alright. It's all good. What have we got for yellow light? We've got doors. That's fine. We can catch the caution for the doors. Alright, let's get some flight directors on here. If I can reach that button, can't quite reach it. There we go. And the auto thrust as well. The speed, and I can see it right here on my tablet here, was 137 was the speed we selected, so 137. You know what's probably, you know why the speeds are probably actually not accurate. And I'm thinking about this now, is that my performance calculators for 737-700, not an 800 series. Today we're flying the 800 series. Alright, looks like the FMS is all initialized, so we'll make sure LNAV is armed. Nope, it won't arm LNAV for some reason. Oh no, my FMS is not initialized. That one is. But mine is not, so. Okay, that's fine. And we'll figure out a top altitude here in a minute. Let's just figure out the rest of this flow here. I hope I don't end up with an issue. I've ended up with issues before where the IRS never initialized on the one side. It became a real bear from that point forward. So I have had issues. I've noticed there are the occasional glitches that seem to sneak into this aircraft, into the PFDG 737, and I don't know where they come from. Because they're not consistent, and that's probably the hardest thing about a glitch, software glitch, is if it doesn't happen every single time, it becomes a real pair to try and figure out where these things come from. All right, let's see here. Altimeter 2966. According to VATSIM, so let's go with that. 2966. Lighting is fine. I never liked the flood lighting. I really don't like flood lighting in a flight deck for the most part. I like the instruments to be illuminated, and then I generally like a pretty dark flight deck from there on out. Alright, and we should get that park brake on. There we go. Alright, idle, 0. Do a quick fire safety test here. Alright, let's get, since there's no ATC online today, 22.8, and I was afraid of this, that streaming on probably Mondays and Tuesdays are probably going to be the days I'm going to end up streaming, probably Mondays most likely from the foreseeable future anyways, the next couple of weeks. Not going to be a great day for getting VATSIM ATC. It is what it is. Accept what you can get. It was great. It was great when we were flying weekends and we were able to very consistently get ATC. And we need to test the aileron trim as well. And it does move, and nope, and then it got stuck. Great. Fantastic. Oh, stop. Oh, you piece of junk. Almost got it back to center. That's pretty good. Okay. That's why we don't usually test the trims in the sim, because you can't see what you're doing while you're also touching the switch, which is just what a pain in the rear end that is. Alright, anywho. Where was I here? Alright, this is not initializing, and this does not give me good fuzzy feelings here. Let's see here, init, index. right IRS came up, the left IRS did not. What happened here? And it's because the left IRS went to attitude mode. I've done that before. You try to do 2 clicks, it does 3 clicks so quickly that you don't even notice. And then after that, it was a bear to try and get it to reinitialize from there. I remember that happened on another flight. I don't think it was on a stream, but it happened on another flight. And it did not want to, once I put it into attitude mode, nothing I could do could get it to come back into initialization mode. Alright, so is it showing me an align light at all? It is not. Alright, I'm going to cheat a little bit here, just because I don't know any other way to reset this at this point. What am I looking for here? The only way I was able to do this, I think, was load a panel state, I think, was what I had to do last time. Alright. So I'm just going to do one thing here, and I'm just going to put this on a instant align, just to see if I put this back to align now, if it will come up. Because it goes on DC, and then it does go into align mode, but then it never comes up again. Once it's gone into attitude mode, it never comes back to align. Switch both to off. Oh, but there we go. My little cheat there seemed to work. Cheating the sim a little bit. Because in most IRSs that I've used, usually the IRSs are independent. If you turn one off and you turn it back on again, it should come back. The only question is how long. In the Airbus, if it's less than 5 seconds, it does a fast align, so it doesn't align the whole thing, but it does align the. It does reset a lot of the ground speeds and other inputs to the system. Whereas if you leave it for longer than 5 seconds, it does a full align. But yeah, I've had problems with this one before, and it's such an annoying little switch to click. Like, I like to use the mouse wheel to sort of rotate it, and if you rotate your mouse wheel a little too far, I should really start clicking on it using the clicks to actually make sure it only goes 2 notches instead of a third, because that is really kind of a cheat. But alright, anywho, let's get out of this, back into the FMC here, and let's have a quick look at our charts. So one other thing I want to show you guys that I decided to do experiment with a little bit last week.
Would you like APU on?
Yes.
Starting the APU.
Is I downloaded the some new software, and for those of you that haven't heard of it, it's from Parallel 42, and it's called Flow. And what it basically does in its most basic version is it replaces your default menu with your default Microsoft Flight Simulator menu with another nicer menu. And I do kind of like it. There it goes. I've only played with it a little bit, so I'm still deciding how much I like it and whether or not it's really is better than what's included. But anyways, we'll talk about it more when we get going, because I do want to show off a little bit of what Flow is all about. But for now, I just needed to get into the Navigraph menu, and let's see here. I need the airport chart, and I need the Night 3 RNAV departure. So let's have a quick look here. First of all, taxi out from the gate here. We're at Delta 9, I believe, or Delta 10. For departure off 28 left with the strong gusty winds, we're going to just probably go... we'll just probably go straight down Foxtrot all the way to the end here for 28 left. Pretty straightforward taxi, except for the fact we got to cross 2 runways. Hopefully nobody's using those for departure today or arrival, given the strong crosswind gusting like 27, 28 knots. And the departure is the Night 3 here, so I'm just going to have a quick look at it here. Flight level 190 is the top altitude on this. Again, we don't have any ATC, no ATC, so we're going to just give ourselves our own clearance here. So we're going to do the Night 3 departure up to Grateful. And flight level 190 is the top altitude today, so we'll go ahead and get that. And because it is an RNAV SID, I should now be able to arm LNAV and VNAV. Nope, LNAV does not want to arm here again. Being a bit of a bear. And I'm not sure if it's something it could be something I'm doing wrong. I don't know this airplane all that well, so it could be something I'm doing wrong. But if we've got the the IRS fully aligned, we should be able to arm LNAV mode once we got the flight directors on, but we cannot seem to do it. But we can put VNAV mode armed, so it is a little bit odd. And I noticed that GPS left it disappeared again. Maybe now it'll let me arm LNAV. Nope, still won't do it. Okay, that's fine. We can arm it once we're airborne. In which case we'll just need the heading. It's a 284 heading initially, so make sure we've got 284 on the heading and we're good to go. Alright, taking a little longer than I wanted to get going, but that's okay. Alright, I think FS2Crew is closing some doors and doing some stuff here. And I imagine boarding is complete at this point. Boarding is complete. So we're going to request for pushback and departure. And let's just make sure we've got the APU up and running. I asked him to start the APU. And he does have the APU up and running, so we can go ahead and take off the ground power and everything else. So that'll remove the ground power and everything else. Perfect. Alright, there goes those guys. Before we go anywhere, though, we are going to need departure briefing, everybody. So let's just make sure we've got it here. So today's departure, taxi out for runway 28 left for departure. We are right here, so we're going to taxi. I'm going to do a pushback tail to the south, and then taxi Foxtrot across both of the ones over to 28 left. The SID is the
completed. Bypass pin inserted.
The SID is the night 3 departure.
Hey guys, all packs are on board. Are we clear to close?
Go for it. Yes. 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 Thanks, it will be a short taxi. Cleared to close, long taxi.
Locking gear.
Clear eye.
Alright, I don't know what it's doing right now. It's not listening to me. That's fine. Let's finish our briefing and then we'll get back to this. Alright, so, and I should have actually asked the FO. Are you ready for the departure briefing?
Go ahead.
There we go. We're going to do tail left when it comes to it. Okay, so for runway 28 left, climb heading 284 to 520 feet and at or below 220 knots. Then right turn direct Galoo. Then on track 325 to night. Top altitude is flight level 190. So we've got heading 284, 190, and we've got the fixes in here. 520 feet, it's direct to Galoo. And then from there, we go left turn to night, rebas above 8,000, and direct to, there it is, Grateful. And that's it. That's the whole SID. The whole SID. Then we transition to our en route. Terrain, there is terrain around here. It's not super high close to the airport, but if you do start to go, especially to the southeast, but also to the north, we are starting to see some terrain up to the 7,000 to 8,000. Around the airport, we're looking at 5,100 feet in the direction we're departing. So we do have to be a little bit careful and aware of terrain, so we will put terrain up on our navigation display so it's ready. That seems to be the biggest threat here, other than the LNAV not wanting to arm for the departure, so we'll fly that manual turn at 520 feet and direct Galoo, and then we'll take it from there. That is basically all I've got for the departure briefing. Otherwise, it looks like a beautiful VFR day, and I guess we need to just check the NOTAMs too, because we are thorough, and we do check our NOTAMs. Alright, so, quick check, NOTAMs. A couple of taxiways closed, any runways. Daily, 8:30 to 1600 Zulu. Well, it is past 1600 Zulu now, so that's good. SID. Those are not our SIDs. Alright, it doesn't look like anything really affects our departure process here in the NOTAM, so perfect. Any questions?
No question.
Pre-flight checklist. Pre-flight checklist.
Pre-flight checklist. Oxygen.
Tested 100%. Tested 100%.
Tested 100%. Navigation, transfer, and display switches. Normal, auto. Window heat, on. Pressurization mode selector, auto. Flight instruments.
Heading 245. Altimeter 29er66. Altimeter 29er66.
Heading 245. Altimeter 2966. Parking brake.
Set.
Engine start levers.
Cutoff.
Pre-flight checklist completed.
All right. And clear to close, it will be a long taxi.
Release parking brakes.
Before start checklist.
Stand by.
All right, he's thinking about it. We're getting going here. Didn't actually take that long to get going, which is good. Despite the fact that I spent about 10 minutes harping on about my announcement. NOTAMs, no one checks those. Well, then why did we stop the entire airspace system when the NOTAM computers went down?
Release parking brakes.
Somebody must check them, because somebody found out the system wasn't working. All right, we just need this guy to get through the whole before start check flow, which is a long flow for the FO. Captain just sits here, fat, dumb, and happy. Sips his coffee. One thing I will make sure, because I'm not sure he's going to do it. Let's get that transponder on. There we go, TCAS is now on. Traffic up there.
Release parking
Before
brakes.
start checklist.
Before start checklist. Flight deck door closed and locked. MCP.
Speed 144, heading 284, altitude 19,000.
Takeoff speeds.
V1 137, VR 139, V2 144.
CDU pre-flight.
Complete. Complete. Verified.
Release parking brakes.
Completed.
Rudder and aileron trim.
Free and 0.
Taxi and takeoff briefing.
Complete. Completed.
Anti-collision light on. Before start checklist complete.
All right, we are ready to go here.
Commencing
Brakes are off, ready for pushback. Delay and start till advised.
Start at will.
Start engine 1.
Starting engine 1. Oil pressure.
%. Trim setting 4.5.
Start a cutout. Number 1 stable.
Start engine 2.
Set parking brakes.
Starting engine 2.
Brakes are set. Front pins removed.
You have a good engine. Start. You can disconnect.
Oil pressure.
%. There comes the fuel. You can even hear that poof and away it goes.
Okay. Cabin crew, take your seats. Clear on the approach.
Unlocking gear.
You just listen to anything I say, won't you, buddy?
The cabin is still not secure.
Okay, we're not going to do anything then, because we actually didn't call for the before takeoff checklist.
Start a cutout.
Tow truck disconnected. Bypass pin removed. Left is clear.
Number
Right
2
is
is
clear.
stable.
Alright, today I'm not going to be in such a rush. Last time I kind of, before these people even walked away, I was grabbing flaps and everything else. And there they go. Carrying the pins. They're going to hold the pins so I can see them. Flaps 5. Before taxi procedure. And I may have to trigger this manually now because this person keeps listening to me, and it's a great system when I'm not trying to stream. Nope, that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for... Alright, and before taxi procedure, that's what I'm looking for. So I'm forcing him to run it manually in the software just because I spoke the wrong word and he started doing the before takeoff procedure and skipped it, the whole thing. So I want to make sure he's got everything cycled here. The lights, generators appear to be on. APU's shut down. He did do the whole thing, I think. Okay, he did do the whole thing. Before taxi checklist.
Before taxi checklist. Generators on, propane on, anti-ice off, isolation valve auto, engine star switches auto, recall.
Checked.
Checked. Auto brake RTO. Engine start levers.
Idle detent. Idle detent.
Flight controls.
Flight control check. Say checked.
Ground equipment.
Clear.
Clear. Before taxi checklist complete.
Flight control check.
Ready.
Full left. Full right. Center. Full up. Full down. Center. Full left. Full right. Center. Flight control check complete. Clear left.
Clear right.
San Francisco traffic. Alaska 207 is at the terminal. We'll be taxiing Foxtrot crossing runways 1 left and 1 right for departure to 8 left.
San Francisco traffic, United 18-6, pushing back gate, Foxtrot 17, San Francisco.
Alright, so this should be Foxtrot right behind us here. The auto thrust is off. Probably because I gave it too much power in the turn. One last chance to arm the LNAV. Nope, she's just not going to do it. That's okay. We'll make it work. If the automation doesn't work, fly it the old-fashioned way. Let the human being do the work. It's a bit of a hazy day out here, though, in San Francisco, isn't it? Alright, as we start the taxi out, just get a line on this taxiway here. Taxi light on. Set taxi light on.
Taxi light on.
Alright, just one quick check here and make sure that a pilot's light does recognize that we are in the taxi out stage. So it is tracking the flight properly. That's good. And you guys should have the overlay at the top of the screen showing you everything, which means that's all working properly. Hey, Sim Life Twitch, real pilot. Yes. I don't know why I spend so much time flying airplanes in the sim when I can go do the real thing, but I think the biggest thing for me is that I get to go to places I don't get to go to in real life and fly airplanes I don't get to fly. San Francisco traffic, Alaska 207 now crossing 1 left and 1 right. Alright, let's get the strobes on just to be safe. Strobes on. set strobes on.
Strobes coming on.
And I think that's probably, for me, is the most fun part. You know, it's visiting places I don't get to go, experiencing airplanes I don't actually fly in real life. So that I think is probably one of the more fun parts for me. Because it is one of those things where you sort of, you have to ask the question, like, why fly the sim when you fly in real life? You could do things in the sim you can't do in real life. You can simulate emergencies and things like that. You can fly at 10 feet over the Statue of Liberty in the sim if you want, if that's what you want to do. You can try out a helicopter or a glider or something else that you've just never done before. So that to me, I think, is the biggest appeal. And no worries. If English is not the language you're born into, it's a tough language to learn, I gotta say. It is a really annoying language. All right, FMC message: verify takeoff speeds. Yeah, they're all still good there. English is an annoying language like that.
San Francisco traffic, United 18, 60 taxi, runway 1 left via Alpha, Mike 1, San Francisco.
Yeah, what am I trying to say? Yeah, like if you're not familiar with the language, it's a horrible language to learn. There's so many rules in English, and then for every rule, there's at least 20 exceptions. So it's a horrible language to try and learn. There's no organization, no rhyme or reason to it. So good luck. And sadly, if you want to become a pilot, you're probably going to have to learn English, because it is the universal language of aviation, and outside of your home country, it's the one that every other air pilot and air traffic controller is going to at least speak to a moderate degree. So depending on what you're planning on doing as a pilot, but if you plan on leaving the home country, you're going to need at least some level of English. So, and it's not terrible. What company am I flying for? We are currently flying for Alaska Airlines. So we're flying Alaska Airlines today. We're going from San Francisco up to Portland there. Just look at that effect right there. Just even as the taxiing out, watching the water, the waves in the background, like, so much effort was paid to some of the aspects of the sim that are really obvious, like the waves. And it probably uses way more processor power than it should, but it looks really good. All right, so he did set flaps 5. Did we ever set our trim to 4.5? There we go, 4.5. Before takeoff checklist.
Stand by.
San Francisco traffic, United 1860 is holding position on Alpha. We're having technical issues.
And I hope that the volumes are good for you guys.
B4 taxi checklist. Generators on propane.
Cancel
on
checklist.
anti-ice. Off. Isolation valve. Auto. Engine start switches. Auto. Recall.
Checked.
Checked. Auto brake. RTO. Engine start levers.
Idle D10.
Flight controls.
Checked.
Ground equipment.
Clear.
Clear. B4 taxi checklist complete.
Sometimes it's just easier not to fight. Before takeoff checklist.
Before takeoff checklist. Flaps.
Flaps 5, green light.
Stabilizer trim.
4.5 upset. 4.5 units set. Set and checked.
B4 takeoff checklist complete.
San Francisco traffic, Alaska 207, taking position, runway 28 left for departure. And United, are you in position or are you still holding?
No, we're taxiing down on Alpha for United 1860. You can take off.
All right, thank you very much. Runway entry procedure.
Okay. Cabin crew, take your seats. Clear on the approach. The cabin is still not secure.
How much longer do I have to wait for the cabin to be secure? Then I think it's going to be screwed up because he started doing the before takeoff checklist when he shouldn't have, so we'll give him a quick call, bing bong. Hey, you guys secure? Yeah, we forgot to call. Okay, cool. All right, here we go. Takeoff.
Thrust set. $80 knots.
Checked.
V1. Rotate. Oh, there's a brake.
Gear up.
Gear up. $400 feet.
Here we go. Now the LNAV armed.
Checked.
Flaps 1.
Speed check.
Flaps up.
Speed check.
San Francisco traffic. Alaska 207's airborne off runway 28 left, right turn northbound.
Flaps up set.
After takeoff checklist.
Stand by.
Alright, took a little while to accelerate to the 250 here, but now that we're accelerating to the 250, here we go. Now we're going to get our climb rate going. And the second we got airborne, the nav seemed to work just fine, so that's good. Didn't have to do a manual direct or fly a manual heading. Stadium with a giant parking lot around it. Love it. And comes the Bay Bridge, I believe, there. I don't know. I don't know San Francisco all that well, to be honest. This is a place I've never been, though I'm looking forward to visiting it in the not too distant future. Alright, what do we got for a TAT right now? Plus 10. We're going to need engine NTS shortly here. Here comes the turn over Galoo. Away we go. She got accelerated to 250 knots. Boy, she climbs.
San Francisco traffic, United 1860, lining up runway 1 left. San Francisco.
That one. That for a second. And there we go. Some nice screenshots now. Maybe even I'll get rid of myself here for a second. Just do some nice screenshots we can have for the title card there with the gold gate in the background, the Bay Bridge up front, downtown San Francisco. All those nice things. Alright, anyway. Hop back to the flight deck. He's got the lights all off. Excellent. Lights are all off. And seatbelts.
Have you released the cabin?
Yes.
Okay.
Alright, so he's getting rid of the seatbelts. Good.
Portable electronic devices may now be
How long
used
is the
for
flight
voice
nautical
systems,
miles?
two-way transmitters,
See
or any
here.
other device in the transmit mode, as these devices may interfere with the aircraft's communication and navigation systems.
Let's see here. I don't even know how we can find that out directly. It's got all the individual legs on it. I think a pilot's light might even tell us here. Altitude. Nope, not even. It's not particularly far. All right, the flight plan will tell us. The whole length of the flight plan here is, let's see here, great circle distance is 479. The actual distance we're flying is 505 miles. So 505 miles. It's not a long flight. It's about an hour and 40 minutes. It's really not too long. And another plane ended up on 16th Avenue. Oh, really? Another airplane. Well, I hope that, so another airplane landed on 16th Avenue over by Toronto Buttonville Airport. So, well, I hope everybody got out of the airplane safely. I hope there were no injuries.
Yeah, they can clear for runway 1 left, 1,500 comes in, 6,000.
All right, kind of climbing through a little bit of a hazy layer. We're at -2 here on the TOT, so we're going to go ahead and get the engine anti-ice on, just to make sure we don't build up any ice on our intakes. But, well, I hope like I said, I hope everybody's okay. Not the first time. There's been a couple of airplanes that have landed off-site around Toronto Buttonville over the years on the 407, on 16th Avenue, and a couple of other places. It's a busy airport. There's a lot of GA traffic, or at least there used to be. It's not nearly as busy as it used to be. But there's a lot of GA traffic, so statistically speaking, you're eventually likely something's going to happen there. It's going to happen sooner or later. It's a pity when it does. Absolutely it is, but something's going to happen. All right, never did a pressurization check through 10,000, so let's just make sure we've got, yeah, climbing to about 2,000 right now. The diff's up to 5.5, and the cabin rate's about 500-600 feet per minute. That's reasonable. The one thing I did not do is, as we pass through 10,000 feet as well, is get guard up. So 21.5 should be up on number 2 for the guard frequency. That way we can listen to people meowing, and we can listen to Delta calling the ramp. They're the butt of every joke. Okay, there's 21.5, and should make sure that's on. There we go. And we're going to get to transition here in just a moment, and then we can start our chat, because it's not a very long flight. Like I said, it's about an hour and 40 minutes, so by the time we get up to cruise, we're going to be cruising for, let's see here, climb, top of climb is 1812, and then top of descent 1841. So yeah, we got about 30 minutes in cruise, and some of that's going to be given up to setting up for the arrival. So just get through transition here. Set standard
1011.
And I realize, yeah, now I never set that. So let's do this. Let's set that to standard, and then what was our cruise? 380. And I'd ask the FS2 crew to set it, but actually let's check it out.
Checked.
Set flight level 380. Nope, it's not going to do it. So right now, FS2 crew, if the autopilot is on, does not respond to any commands to control the guidance panel. So if you ask him to change the speed, the altitude, the heading, if you're flying on autopilot, he won't do it. If you're manually flying, he will do it. And the logic there was that normally the pilot flying, if the autopilot's on, will manipulate the guidance panel. And that is perfectly sound logic, except for the key word there is normally. And that is not to say that it excludes the pilot flying, who might be busy doing multiple tasks at once, from asking the pilot monitoring to do something on the guidance panel. So maybe I'm going to set the speed and I'll ask you to set the altitude, or I might set the heading and ask you to set the altitude, or I might be trying to set direct to something, or even just maybe not hand flying the airplane, but just doing something where I feel like I need you to do something on the guidance panel for me. Maybe a lot of airlines have a rule that when you're using the spoilers, that you have to keep your hand on the spoilers whenever they're deployed. That way you don't forget they're deployed. So if your one hand is on the spoilers, sometimes it's very awkward for you to reach over and try to do anything on the guidance panel with your left hand, reaching all the way over there. So you may ask the pilot monitoring to do that. So yes, in theory, most of the time the pilot flying will be manipulating the guidance panel, but there is definitely, every airline has a caveat that is not a requirement, and that the PM can manipulate the guidance panel even when the autopilot's on if they are requested to by the pilot flying. So yeah, I understand the logic behind FS2 Crew's decision, but it's again a very narrow interpretation, I think, of that SOP of who normally controls the guidance panel. So it doesn't do any harm, certainly, for FS2 Crew to be listening and manipulating the guidance panel. And I like that. I like that sometimes. If 3 commands come in, I ask the pilot monitoring to do one of them while I do the other 2. you know, I do the adjust the speed and the heading, and I ask them to adjust the altitude. Just good kind of coordination, teamwork, and efficiency, getting stuff done faster. So. Uncle Wiki, probably okay, right by the threshold, and they don't have any blankets covering the cockpit. Well, that's good. Fence damage looks like departing 33 just didn't take off. Well, that's unfortunate. But yeah, well, if they went through the fence, hopefully, again, it was pretty low speed and was not didn't cause anybody any damage. If they didn't get off the ground, chances are by about halfway to 2/3 way down the runway there, they probably realized what was happening and rejected. So hopefully they weren't certainly at full speed going off the end of the runway there. There have been some unfortunate incidents off the end of that runway. Yeah, I don't even want to. Kind of try not to think about them now. It's a little bit sad sometimes. Anyways, so one of the things I want to talk about before I got distracted by a bunch of other stuff like the VATSIM donation policy was the brand new software from Parallel 42 called Flow. So some of you have probably already seen or heard or read something about this, but I decided to download it, install it, and give it a try. And basically, it's a bit of a rewrite of the user interface with a Microsoft Flight Simulator. So there's 3 levels to Flow. There is there's the basic free level. Pardon me, I didn't even put myself back up there. You guys didn't even see me coughing, which is okay. So there's 3 levels to the Parallel 42's Flow. There's the free version, there's the Essentials version, and there's the Pro version. So what I did was I downloaded the free version just to give it a try, and because that's what's in my budget right now. And what it does is it changes the menu system in the sim. So now instead of having the menu bar across the top in the kind of Xbox style, they've done a menu wheel here. And one of the really nice things is that it's very customizable. So you can go into settings here, and you can customize how you want to set up your wheel here, and you can set up change the size. You can disable a default toolbar, or you can leave the default toolbar running in parallel in conjunction with this. So you can have that toolbar up there as well. If I close this, I think it'll come back up now. Yeah, there it is. So that's there, but I can also bring up my toolbar wheel here. Personally, I'm happy to get rid of that, and one of the biggest reasons why is that I don't like that every time I move the mouse that handlebar pops up. I like to be able to move my mouse and not have things come up. So probably the biggest advantage of this menu from Parallel 42 is the fact that it's key activated. So I press, it's bound to a key within the sim. For me, it's the tab key, but whatever key you want to bind it to within your sim, the settings page will tell you exactly how to bring it up. Assign a key or button to the help menu in the simulator. But it's very nice because you control when the menu comes up. It doesn't just come up every time you move the mouse anywhere near the top of the screen. You control when it comes up, and you can even control where it comes up. Wherever your mouse is at the time you press the button is where the menu pops up. So it's kind of nice like that. I just like the ability to control it. I think that's really useful. The other thing is that it's fully customizable. You can customize the order. Yes, you can customize the toolbar up here, but you can really customize the order. And the other thing that's really kind of useful to it is you can have multiple different wheels. So there's a second wheel here that is customized to your particular aircraft. So if you have certain menu options that you only want to have certain aircraft do, then you can have it on the aircraft-specific window as opposed to the full sim window here. You can add any additional features. How do I do this again here? Sorry. I've only played with this a little bit. So I'm trying to remember how to... I customize these menu items already. And how did I do that? I've already forgotten. Is it double click? Or is it right click? I can't even remember how to change these options. Oh, it was a long press. That's what it was. So you long press, and then you can change what's on the wheel. You can pick from the 10 default panels or custom panels that you may have added. You can unassign stuff. You can pick how you like the wheel to go here. And yeah, it's just basically you can pick the items that you want here, just like you could on the menu, but you can also have this second menu just for your aircraft. And you can even have multiple wheels for the sim itself. So you can have one for all aircraft, a second one for all aircraft, and then you have your 738 one, which I have nothing assigned to, so it doesn't do any good. But it's kind of great in theory. It's a relatively simple improvement to the sim. I like it, and more than anything, it's just because of that button press. There's no more floating menu bar at the top of your sim window. It's just a floating menu. It does basically the same as the default menu does, just in a circular pattern, but it does the same. It's a little bit more customizable. But that is your basic free version of Parallel 42 Flow. So that's a pretty nice innovation. I like that. Now, if you want to talk about the more advanced versions, then you really start to get some good features. And I'll be honest, I'm pretty much sold on the Essentials version here. So there's 2 additional versions, and I'll show you what's listed here on the website here, because I don't have it installed personally. I haven't purchased it. For about 22 Australian dollars, I believe it is, you can go with the Essentials, and I think double the price you can go with the Pro version. So Essentials adds a lot more features that I think make the sim interface a lot more user-friendly. So not only can you customize your wheel layouts, but you end up with a whole bunch of different widgets that Parallel 42 has written to go into your menu. So some of them are very basic. The time widget, you can just simply, instead of having a slider, now you've just got a wheel that drags the time around, and it shows you where the time is right now. Like, it's very, very kind of basic. There's that. There's a weather widget. Again, doesn't do too much, changes the function, changes the look a little bit of the weather panel. A couple things that are different are that you can randomly select some weather, and you can also create your own presets. So not only can you use the Sim's presets, but you can create your own presets to change the weather quickly to whatever you like. So it's a bit of an improvement. One that's really kind of potentially kind of interesting is the portal widget here, which allows you to teleport directly to other places in the sim very quickly, which is something that's been missing. You have to kind of go back to the main menu of the sim and then reload the sim in the new position and that sort of thing. So being able to go directly to other places that you like, that's a good feature. That's something that's really been missing, that I can't believe like Asobo didn't really put that in the sim. That was kind of shocking. So that is that could be a very useful feature. You can save your favorite airports. You can see where your friends are and go visit them very quickly and wherever they are in the world in the sim, and teleport your aircraft there without having to reload the aircraft, reload the sim. So that's a really useful feature. And then the other one that I think would also be very useful is the camera widget. So for those of you that were not part of the FSXP 3D world or have forgotten, Parallel 42 started basically one of the first software products they brought to the sim was Chaseplane, which was a fantastic camera add-on that made cameras so much more functional. Let's just check our altitude here. We're getting close to 380. That made the cameras so much more functional, so much more user-friendly, especially for streamers, but for everybody. Having all these quick views and having a very easy way to kind of jump from view to view to view very quickly. Chaseplane was a fantastic piece of software for that. Definitely one of the, I would say, one of my essential pieces of software for P3D. So here's Parallel 42 is doing it again, and they are improving the interface to get to different cameras. And this is kind of nice. Rather than have to sort of scroll through a whole list of cameras or hit the S button like 17 times to go from one view to the next view, or remember which views are which, you can go much more quickly directly to all your different cameras that you may have. So yeah, I honestly, I'm not a big fan of Asobo's built-in camera system. I find it clunky. There's a lot of kind of memorizing different keys to kind of use it. So having as much as sometimes that's useful, having a point-and-click interface is also a very useful camera system. So I think there's a lot of great potential here in the Essentials version, and it's gone onto my wish list, as it were. It's not that expensive, $22, but again, you can't just go out and buy every single thing you want. You have to sort of prioritize. And I'm not a rich man. There's a limit to how much money I can spend on this hobby. You can spend an infinite amount of money on this hobby, but this is definitely going onto my wish list. I think this is something that I think is very useful. Lots of sort of great things, and I'm sure Parallel 42 is not done. Parallel 42 is known to support their software well and continually improve it. So I'm sure they're not done. They probably will add additional widgets as they sort of write things that are useful. The last version of Parallel 42's Flow is called the Pro version. So this takes everything from the core version with a new menu system and the Essentials version. And there's more actually, sorry, in the Essentials version. I didn't even go through all this. I showed you some of the basic stuff, the widgets, but there's even buttons you can add to the menu to do all sorts of stuff. Quit the sim directly, instant refueling, engine start stop, flaps up and down, aircraft reset, sim rate plus minus, door controls, gear controls, light controls, all this sort of stuff you can add to that menu. So all of a sudden this menu, which is right now for me is not got that much in it because it's just got the basic menus in it, menu items in it. If you could have your second aircraft specific one and you can say, let's turn on lights and doors and park and brake and all sorts of stuff right here, all of a sudden there's a lot of stuff you can kind of do in this wheel that is very, could be very useful. You find yourself filling up that wheel pretty quickly. So there are, yeah, sorry, I'm just sort of getting used to this idea here, but there are other features available just beyond those widgets. I think those widgets alone are pretty useful, but there's some other stuff you can put into that menu. But then the Pro version lets you really, it's really kind of targeted at, well, it says power users, content creators. There's a lot of good stuff in the power version here, so if you're at all interested in that, if you are a streamer, you can do things like you can have a chat overlay. The menu bar will allow you to directly support a chat overlay. You can add a bot to your Twitch channel. All sorts of different scripts. You can write customized scripts for all those different buttons that will do different things, and you can even export them, trade them with other people, download them. Data overlays directly in the sim. I don't like the default. I don't mind the default one that kind of exists with Asobo, but turning it on and off is kind of awkward, I find too. So a lot of very powerful stuff in the Pro version. I'm not so sure it's for me. That's what I need. I think the Essentials version I think would more than cover me. I think I'd really get a lot of use out of the Essentials version. I'm kind of happy with the streaming overlays I've got. I don't really want to start cluttering up my stream with chats in the view. So I don't think I'm going to probably go with the Pro version. But to me, the Essentials version looks like a really good product. I think it's very worthwhile. I think it looks like Parallel 42 has done a very good job. And that's flight level 370, clocking 380. Roger. Now again, all that being said, I like Parallel 42 as a company for a number of reasons, and I think they're a great company in terms of supporting their products. Chase Plane was one of the first real products I have of theirs that I had, and it was updated nonstop. There was every couple of weeks there'd be an update pushed out with a few tweaks, a few little changes, not necessarily revolutionary changes, but definitely they supported their software. They continually updated it throughout its life cycle, which is great. They didn't just sort of turf it out into the market and leave it with whatever glitches were there. They do follow through. They believe in their product. They do support their products in the long run, which is great. The other thing that I will give Parallel 42 a lot of props and credit for is that they are really great user interface designers. Their user interfaces are really nice. Like this menu, it looks really slick. It fades in and out. It fades in and out nicely. It seems very well thought up for the most part. You know, whether or not you need to have the circle versus the horizontal toolbar is kind of that's not the real charm of it. The real charm is how well customizable it is. The multiple toolbars available to you to sort of suit your needs, and the button pressing. As silly as that is, but like instead of having to move the mouse around and always have this menu pop up, me controlling directly when this menu pops up with a button press. I love that. That's fantastic. It's a simple feature, but great. I think everyone should probably install it just for that reason. And I wonder too if in the long run if they may not go back to having the horizontal toolbar as an option, but just again button control rather than just have it every time you move the mouse around up here, because that was one of the most annoying things right at the start, was all these this bar just constantly appearing every time you move your mouse around the screen to do anything in the airplane. Oh, there it is again. But yeah, Parallel 42 is a great company when it comes to writing interfaces and creating user interfaces. So the other one that comes to mind off the bat for me is, do I even have it installed here? Yes, is the SkyPad. And I haven't actually run it in a while, but oh no, it doesn't need an update. But again, and yeah, don't worry about it. Transponder's not running, that's fine. But again, a very slick interface, and that's one thing that they do very well. So it made it look a little bit like a tablet here, and it looks really good. It runs just like a tablet. I'm not even sure if this is all going to work here. It might not. Especially since the transponder's not on, which is sort of its interface. I like the product itself here. I like the interface. I didn't like the product so much itself. I never really got into the. I didn't mean to close that. I just meant to exit back to the main menu here. But I never really got into the Sky Park itself. I felt like too much like I was basically flying on my own. I kind of like FS Economy a bit more for finding missions, just because I feel like I'm interacting with the whole world. There's all the airplanes and FBOs are owned by actual people out there, users out there. You know, so the whole world is kind of run by actual people as opposed to kind of being a little bit more virtual with this. But at the same time, they do have some really creative mission ideas here. I can't get them just because I haven't run the transponder. Maybe if I run the transponder, it'll load everything here. And yeah, and I have to validate my license because I haven't opened this recently. But my point was that their interface is very nice here, and you can even change various things about this here. You can change the size of the interface, so it's always on top. Double click the bezel to stow. Like, there's a lot of kind of larger, smaller, so you can make it the size you want. But it looks very nice. It's very intuitive interface, especially as everyone pretty much uses a tablet these days at some point or another in their lives. So very intuitive interface. I like it as an interface, but just as a game, as a product, I didn't enjoy the Sky Park as much. But full props to Parallel 42. Very slick looking interface. They are very good interface designers, and I personally think Asobo should hire them to design the interface of the whole bloody sim, because even going back to the main menu to change options while you're flying, very frustrating if you have to change units, or you know, you want to turn icing effects on and off because you realize you left it on with an airplane that doesn't like the icing effects, and you go, speaking of icing, I can probably turn the engine anti-ice off now. That sort of thing. Just awkward, I find. You know, back in the P3D FSX days where we had a menu across the top and we could change 3/4 of the options while the sim was moving without the sim stopping, that was a better interface. I understand some things you can't really do while you're flying. Like, you can't change the graphics settings very easily because it's sort of being rendered in real time. Okay, I get that. We can pause the sim for those sort of things. But some of the more simpler changes, the toggles on and off, we need to be able to do those without exiting the sim, I think. So I think that whole, I have to go back to this options menu to change any of these things is a bit awkward and a bit short-sighted, I think, in their design. So I wish Parallel 42 would get over to Asobo and give them some lessons on user interface design, because I think Asobo could learn quite a few things from Parallel 42. So yeah, long story short, if you get a chance, go to the Orbex store or your Orbex Central app and download. Give Parallel 42's flow a try. It's pretty straightforward. There's a tutorial. It takes you about 30 seconds to read the tutorial and get started on it. It's not hard at all. It's a very simple update. The free version, I think, is totally worth it, and it's the basic change here is free. So you have nothing to lose by trying it, except for a couple seconds of your life while you install it, and it literally will take you probably less than a minute to install it and about another minute to read the tutorial and get the hang of it. If you don't like it after that, you can always uninstall it. It does no harm. The sim's still running in the background, and you can go back to using the default options in the sim. But I think it's a very worthwhile change. All right, we are getting down there pretty quickly here. Let's see here. I don't have a top and drop visible here yet. 160 miles to our top and descent, but I see the first fix on the arrival is already coming up, so I kind of want to get started on this already. Let's just have a quick look here at my V-Pilot, and there is no weather, there is no ATC anywhere on the West Coast. It is still pretty early on the West Coast. It is, what is it, like 10 in the morning in Portland, so the odds of me getting a controller to log on at this point in the day, 10 in the morning on a Monday, is probably not great. This is going to be my problem. I'm going to probably be streaming a lot on Mondays from now on. It's going to be it's most likely going to be my day off for the foreseeable future, and maybe Tuesdays. But evenings are tough on the weekdays, especially being back at work all the time now. It's nice, I gotta say. And before I get set up, I'll just say my bit on this too, that I finally kind of went back to work. I think I mentioned this on my last stream, but I finally finished training, and I'm finally fully back at work, on call, on reserve, and going to work every single day that I'm on reserve, because they need people. I won't say desperately, but they're always running a little bit lean. They're always a little bit short on pilots, and they're always calling the reserve people in to fly. So I was on call for 5 days this week, and I flew all 5 days. And it's not a bad thing. It's nice. It's nice to be back in the airplane, just sort of doing the job, going from place to place, still learning constantly, but not in a training environment now. We're just in the real airplane environment, just doing the job day to day, learning as we go. You know, when things are not quite the way they should be, and it's been a challenge. The weekend was a bit of a challenge. Friday, especially, it was snowing. It was snowing a fair bit, so it created a small but steady disaster where 3 hour and 20-minute long flights. I think normally they're blocked at an hour 20 or an hour 30 long flights. Took 12 hours to do 3 flights, just because of the length of time, and that was basically go go go. We never. The first 2 we stayed on the airplane. We never even left the airplane between the first 2. The third one was on a different airplane, so we had to go switch airplanes. But we went straight. We went pretty much almost straight to the other airplane, and it was just go go go. And it still took 12 hours to do 4.5 hours worth of flying time. It was just insane. Do you always fly to a different location when on reserve? Is it fun not knowing where you will be going for the day? Yeah, you never know what you're going to get called in for. You can get called in, you can get called in to do like a, 1.5 hour flight to Montreal, or you can get called to go and do a flight all the way down to the Caribbean. So you can get called to do all sorts of things. Yeah, whatever anybody else doesn't want to do or calls in sick for is what you end up with. Or even if things go sideways and people just don't make their flights because their previous flights are too delayed or something, whatever comes up, you'll end up doing anything. So I've done a whole bunch of sort of just domestic stuff over the last week, but yeah, I was talking to the guy yesterday that I was with. He was also called in on reserve, and he had gone to Turks and Caicos the day before. So you never know what you're going to get called into on reserve. Personally, I'm not a big fan of it. I'm a pilot. I'm a Type A personality. I like to be in control. I like to know what's happening, and ditto for my schedule as well. I do not enjoy not knowing what's going to happen next. So reserve is really not me. I'm not a big fan of reserve. It's not bad actually right now, because for the most part I'm not getting called the day of. I'm usually getting notified 2 days in advance that stuff that's happening. So it's been pretty good so far. I've got to say, for reserve, it's been pretty good so far. But it's just not me. I like to know. I like to have a plan. I like to know what's going on. I like to know what I'm doing tomorrow and the day after and the day after. And so the not knowing of being on reserve can be a real challenge, which is why it's been good. Like I said, for the most part, about 2 days out, I've been getting notified about when stuff is happening, what flights I'm going on. So I'm back on reserve on Wednesday. So chances are probably this afternoon sometime I'll get notified over what I'm doing on Wednesday. So it's not that bad. I do get some notice, which is good. But yeah, just not my lifestyle. As soon as I can get a reasonable block, I will gladly take a block over reserve. All right. I am just going to let's see here. Portland. Yeah, so let's have a little look-see here at the weather. So on my VPilot here, drag it over. No ATC online, as you can see, this morning on the West Coast, unfortunately. But KPDX. And this is current 110 at 5, 10 miles, few at 1800, broken 4100. So over a gray, dreary day, but not completely impossible to get in. 2978 on the meter. Yeah, so 110 at 5, and I believe we planned 12. I think was our. I moved that thing. So I believe we planned 12 as our arrival. 10 left. That's the runway. So almost right down the pipe. So that's good. Let's see here. 2978. I'm just going to set that on the standby so it's ready to go when I don't forget. And I guess on this airplane you can also set it on the main one here, and it won't do anything until you actually press the standard button again. See, you forget sometimes which airplanes you're flying and what nice features they have. And that little thing down there where you can just move this and it sets it on a standby, but it doesn't actually change what you're at right now. Such a smart, simple little innovation. All right, let's pull up these charts here. And it's funny because I went to go do that and I moved my mouse up here by default, just out of habit. But nope, I've got to do this here. Navigraph me. There we go. Let's have a look at the charts for Portland. Start setting up here. Come on. There we go. Open charts list. So for Portland, we're on the Timbers 2 arrival. And from there, we're going to set up for an ILS to runway 10 left. All right, so let's just have a quick look and validate that all the points that we need are in there. I'm just going to remove the stuff from San Francisco because we're not going back. All right, so Timbers, we are direct to Machu. We're about to join at Machu. I guess it's pretty far out still, but anyways. Hugh Bucks, Eyeball, Aaron, Moxie at or above 240. Portal at 270 between 240 and 11,000. 270 between 240. That's where we had the error because our descent speed is actually planned at 240. No, that's the speed restriction. 249 is what it's planned at, so we'll have to manually accelerate to 270. It won't accelerate to meet a restriction beyond what we're planned at the descent. Timbers at 270 above 11,000. Vance at 250 between 15 and 11,000. We go to Flower, and then for 10 left, it's going to be this right-hand transition here to... oh, I'm sorry. No, yeah, sorry, for 10 left. We're going left here. Sorry, 10 left. We're going to go to Full between 9 and 7,000. Sail between 8 and 6,000. Micro at 210 knots at 5,000. That's the bottom altitude on the star. Brew and Pub. Micro Brew Pub. Haha, funny. And get vectored over to Buxom. And in our case, it's going to be the self-vector. Let's see here. 10 left, so we do have Buxom Trail. Trailblazer 10 left. So we're looking for 111.3 and 103. So 111.3. Set 111.3 on Set 111.3 on nav 2.
Roger.
Set 111.30 on nav 2.
Roger.
There we go. 103. Set course on your side 103. Set course on your side 103. Set course on your side 103. Oh, doesn't like that call. This version of it. Set course on your side 103. And I see it in there, but he's just not doing it. Yeah, I'll do it for him, I guess. I find this voice recognition, this version of FS2Crew sadly is one of the least reliable I've dealt with, which is sad because I like the product as a whole. I like the idea behind the product, but I find myself, I have to repeat myself very often on this one, which I never usually have to do.
After takeoff checklist, engine bleeds, on.
Cancel
lights,
checklist.
Auto, landing gear, up and off.
Cancel
Lights,
checklist.
Up, no lights. After takeoff checklist complete.
Crying out loud.
You release the cabin crew?
No thanks. No thanks.
Okay.
Oh my god. You're killing me here, buddy. You're killing me. 293 is the minimums. So let's just set the... Oh, sorry, 29... 78. Spun the wrong wheel there. 293 is the minimums. Go 293. Alright, 293, and then we've got landing. What is 10 left? Good long runway, right? 10,000 feet? Pretty much 10,000 feet. Yeah, we'll just do flaps 30. That's more than good enough here. Flaps 30 for landing. Speed 144. And while I'm looking at this chart here, it's just making me think of it. Let's have a quick look on the other computer here and just find a gate for Alaska flight from San Francisco to KPDX. Let's get a gate assignment going on here. Come on. Wow, there's not many direct flights. There's a lot of connecting flights. Is there no direct flight from San Francisco to Portland? Really? Really? Weird. Oh. No. Because it subbed in. That's why, because it subbed in a different identifier for me. Ugh. Different airport. That's why it was showing me. Okay, yeah. No, there are lots of direct flights. I was floored by that. Alright, on the way, let's see here. We'll do this one that arrived recently. It's actually a 737-800. It arrived on gate Charlie 14 in Portland. So show me gate Charlie 14. Where's Charlie 14? And Charlie Concourse is here. 14 is in the horseshoe, about halfway down the south side of the horseshoe here. Alright, we can do that. So we'll vacate right, come back early on Kilo and Tango into the horseshoe there. Alright. I think I got everything set up here. You have control.
I have control.
Are you ready for the approach briefing?
Go ahead.
Alright, so today we are doing the Timbers to RNAV arrival into Portland. This is on plate 10-2 Delta, effective the 20th of Jan of 2020. Notes at the top, radar, DDI, GPS, RNAV 1, City of Timbers transitions, ATC only, non-GPS, no, it's not on caution, intermittent pair, jumping activity 6 south-southeast of Flower. Vicinity of Skydive Oregon Airport, OL05, there it is. At below 14,500, so yeah, so we'll be coming through there between 11:15 down to 7 to 9, yeah, we'll be right through there. Speed restriction, turbojet aircraft descend via Mach number until intercepting 280 knots, maintain 280 knots till slowed by the star. So we have to change our descent profile here, and we descend by Mach number, but then we have to accelerate to 280 knots. So we do 0.773 and hard code the 280 knots on there. And I can't do it. Can I do 0.7? Slant 280? There we go. That's fine. 770, 280 knots, that's fine. 77 miles till we start down with that one. Alright, so that's set for the speed restriction for the star. And yeah, we follow all the waypoints in there. The bottom altitude on this star is going to be 5,000. So once we start descending, we're going to descend all the way down to 5,000. We're going to self-vector around for an ILS to runway 10 left in Portland today. Plate 11-1, 111.3, IVDG. And 109, or sorry, 103 is the final approach course. So I see 103, 103, 111.3, 111.3. Laser check height is 3,000. Sorry, 2,000. 2,000 at Blazer. And the ILSDA of 293. We got barrel 293 set there. Touchdown zone at 30 feet. Yeah, cabin landing altitudes at 50. And the MSA around the battleground VOR, which is north of the field a little bit. 3,500 on the sector we're going to be in. If we happen to go north or east of that VOR, it goes up to 6,200, so it's quite a bit higher. The missed approach is to climb to 800 feet, then climbing left turn 4,200 on the battleground VOR 160 radial inbound and hold. Continue climb and hold to 4,200, or as otherwise directed by ATC. We'll have PAPIs on the left, MALSR lighting system, and RVR 2400 or half miles at 263 foot ceiling. We got a few at 1,000 something, I think we said. So we got lots of, should not have a problem spotting the airport. It is VFR below the cloud deck today. We will probably need some of the anti-ice descent. We're using flaps 30, and we'll use initially full reverse. And let's see here, we'll do auto brake 2, and then modulate from there. Taxi in, it'll be a convenient right turn off of runway 10 left. There are some high, no, there are no high speeds on this one. I feel like they might be using 10 right for arrival, but I don't know. I honestly don't know too well. It's not everyone I'm familiar with, but we'll take any of the hard right 90-degree turns and taxi back along Alpha. Probably take Alpha and Tango into the horseshoe where our gate is, Charlie 14 there. And that's basically it. We'll just check those NOTAMs. Since the FAA got that computer system fixed, we might as well use it. That was an interesting day for sure. San Francisco, taxiway Alpha between Delta and no, sorry, we don't need San Francisco. We need Portland. Conroe transceiver, runway, 10 right PAPIs, 21 closed, 10 right, 28 left closed Wednesday. Okay, not us. 03 closed the takeoffs. Approach procedures for 10 right. There's a few amendments. 10 left. That's the RNAV. ILS or low 10 left. Straight in ILSDA. Oh, is 372. And so straight in ILS visibility, all cats for RVR 3,000. So 372. It's a little higher than what's charted. Still should not be a problem at all given the conditions today. But a little higher than what's charted, and that's why we read the NOTAMs. Make sure we don't miss this important information. Straight in low. For an operative MLSR, increase SLO temporary crane, 266 feet southwest of runway 10 left. Okay. All right, so that's good. Yeah, and that's it. We're just about ready to start down here. What I'm going to do is I will set the bottom altitude on the star right now, 5,000. Oops, wrong way. There we go. And yeah, we'll get ready to start down here. Now that it's in VNAV mode, it should start down automatically. All right, so there's one more thing I kind of wanted to chat a little bit about. Actually, the NOTAM system was an interesting debacle the other day with the FAA NOTAM system going down. For those of you that didn't see it, didn't read about it in the news, because it definitely made the news. But yeah, I guess at the end of the day, the NOTAM system is a very old system. I mean, the way they're all still written, it harkens back to the teletype system. Like, they use abbreviations because back in the day, they used to use teletypes to distribute NOTAMs to various airline offices and various flight service stations around the country. So abbreviations save time on these transmissions. If you had to write out all these NOTAMs in full text, they'd be really long, and printers would be going forever. So to help make sure things got done quickly, there's lots of abbreviations and everything, and they still read that way to this day. But even they were saying that the server technology itself is a 10, 20-year-old server technology, database technology that actually organizes the whole NOTAM database for the FAA, and then they prettied up the front-end interface on the web and through various other interfaces. But at the end of the day, it's still a 20-year-old database. So apparently somebody was doing a change to it and to the database somehow, and corrupted the database, so they had to restore it. And it was even the backup server apparently was also corrupted at the same time. Nobody realized that what had happened at first until after the systems had talked to each other and the backups had occurred. So anyways, but yeah, it was crazy to think that morning that, like, the FAA, after a couple of hours of realizing what was going on in the scope, the fact that the whole system was down and no one in the entire country could access a NOTAM, and even outside the country, like, people outside the country rely on the FAA's NOTAM system to get NOTAMs for their country and other countries. They shut down the airspace they didn't shut down the airspace, but they issued a nationwide ground stop. They would not let any aircraft depart nationwide at a controlled airport. Because nobody could get up-to-date NOTAM information about any airport at all in the whole system. And the last time that I can recall that there was a nationwide ground stop where no aircraft were allowed to take off across the whole nation. Like, you get regional and individual airport ground stops all the time, but the whole country, nobody's allowed to take off. The flights that are on the route can finish and land, but no one can take off. Last time that happened was 22 years ago, was September 11th. So that was a long time ago. That shows you, like, the severity of the situation. Like, that was the last time that something serious enough happened that was the reaction. So I'm glad they got the system up and running. And it's funny, like, when you start thinking about, like, all these different systems that we use in aviation for communication, there's so much going on in the back end that we often don't see. And a lot of these systems are quite old. Ask Southwest how their crew scheduling system is working. And I think that Southwest is an outlier in this case in terms of their technology. A lot of airlines have embraced technology, and even those that haven't embraced it fully have been dragged kicking and screaming into the 21st century and have said, yeah, we can definitely save time and money by making sure our IT infrastructure is efficient, because airlines run on communication. I mean, the airplanes themselves run on jet fuel, but in terms of who's got a reservation, who's got a ticket on this flight, who's got transmitting flight plans and weather information to the flight deck, updates about company procedures and company manuals, arrival times and departure times and fuel loads and all these, like, there's an immense amount of information that flows in an airline, and it has to flow in a timely fashion for the airline to keep on operating. Flight plans are created maybe a couple of hours before departure at most. So, it's not like the day before we can summarize all the information and mail it to the fuel guy. Hour by hour, they get updates as to, okay, these are the airplanes that are coming in, they need this much fuel. And that's just one example. Obviously reservation systems, flight get canceled, all of a sudden everybody's got to get rebooked, and we got to get the new boarding cards, new information, maintenance information about aircraft, what aircraft, how many hours and cycles an aircraft has done, and when maintenance is going to be coming due on certain systems, and things that have broken en route and need to be addressed and fixed when we get to our next airport. Non-stop cavalcade of communication in the airline industry. Communication is essential. So when you have a communication system breakdown in any of the major systems, and some of them are quite old, it creates a real problem for the airline. Lots of individual airlines have had these where either the communication system network itself goes down, or individual computers, maybe the weight and balance computers go down, the dispatch computers go down. There's all sorts of different things that, all sorts of different subsystems that can go down. So, and like I said, it's an immense amount of information the airlines need to function, and they need the information in a timely fashion, or things just completely fall apart. And again, ask Southwest, when their crews are not getting information in a timely fashion, the whole thing can just fall apart so quickly. And case in point, like, we don't really simulate too much in the simulator, but the ACARS system is all but essential for modern airline operations. It started out with the most simple of tasks. The ACARS system really, at its most basic but functioning level, it was originally kind of devised just for the automatic reporting of takeoff and landing times. So when an aircraft leaves the gate, takes off, and then lands and taxis the gate, all those times need to be recorded. And back in the day, somebody, either maybe the flight engineer or the FO, somebody would have to call the base after they take off and say, "Yep, we took off at this exact time, so if you can mark that time down," and that way they'd know what time the aircraft is due at the destination, so they could plan on having a gate ready for it. They could also make sure they know when the airplane's supposed to land. If it doesn't show up, if it's overdue, then they can start a search for it, that sort of thing. But also things like recording like the fuel that was uplifted, so the fuel that was loaded onto the airplane, how much fuel they had at departure, how much fuel they have at arrival. All these tracking things were also transmitted. So they used to be called in by radio to the station. Then the ACARS system came along. That was one of its first functions, really, was to just automatically transmit those times. As soon as the wheels go up, bloop, the time gets recorded, bloop, it gets sent through the radio system automatically into the airline computers, done. Because how many times did a flight depart and somebody forgot to call in the times? It probably happened every single day in most airlines, multiple times a day probably. So automate that whole system, and send these things through the radio so that they're automatically in the system. That was the advent of ACARS. From there, it just took off. They suddenly realized, wow, we've got this text messaging system available. Pilots can get weather. They can query a station and get the latest METARs. They can send messages to the dispatch. They can send text messages to their dispatch or their maintenance department directly instead of having to call them on the radio. As the ACARS system really kind of came into its own, all these sort of functions came in there, and then you started getting ATC communication. We can grab the ATIS for our destination before we are within radio range, because we can use the ACARS system and send a request out through that system and get it long before we're actually en route. And that's our descent for 5,000. So all sorts of stuff like that. I have control. I have control. I have control.
You have control.
Any questions? He's just doing it right now. He's doing the descent procedure.
No questions.
Descent checklist.
Descent checklist. Pressurization. Landing altitude is 50 feet. Recall checked. Water brake. Level 2. The landing data.
VREF 143. Minimums 372 feet set.
VREF 143. No DH set. Approach briefing.
Complete. Completed. Completed.
Descent checklist complete.
So now, every once in a while, you'll get an aircraft where the ACARS does not want to work. Whether it be something's wrong with the system itself, whether... Oh, that's the wrong button. That's the wrong window there. Whether it be there's something wrong with the ACARS system itself. Every once in a while, they have system issues with the whole ACARS network. They're pretty rare, but more often it's likely the aircraft is either something's happening with the VHF3 radio. So normally the ACARS works through its own separate radio that is on the VHF frequencies, and it's on VHF number 3 radio. So sometimes that radio fails. Sometimes you just end up being parked in a blind spot. So you may go to a certain gate at a certain airport, and that gate is a blind spot for the ACARS system, where the transmitter, wherever it is, just can't quite reach the aircraft there, wherever it's parked. And boy, do you start to appreciate the ACARS system on those days when you don't have it. When you have to wait until you're within range to get an ATIS by, you know, and write it down by hand. But you have to wait till you're within range. You can't plan ahead of time. So normally we try to plan a descent in the airline business. You know, we try to have all the briefings and everything done before we ever start descent. So we're normally starting about 150 miles from our destination, retrieving the latest ATIS from the ACARS system. You won't get probably 150 miles away on the voice channels, so you need the ATIS system to do that. And things like the times being sent automatically, but also being able to get weather at other stations. So maybe your destination's not looking good. Let's recheck the weather at the alternate. Communicating directly with dispatch very quickly and easily with short little text messages rather than tie-upping up the radio frequency, like, "Hey, how's the rides up ahead?" Or we have an issue with this system. Could you tell maintenance? Simple text messages that maybe don't need an instant response, but just sort of again keep information flowing. Even getting the clearance. Most of the time the clearance we get it through the ACARS system. We don't usually request directly by voice. That way, we don't have to write down if there's a change, especially if there's a big long routing change. We don't have to write the whole thing down. We can usually just read it off this printout. So the couple days where the ACARS system fails you, and when it fails completely and it's not available at all, you feel very out of place. Not quite helpless, but definitely out of the comfort zone. And we were having this discussion the other day, and honestly, it is probably, if there was one system you had to pick that you did not ever want to break in the aircraft, other than the obvious systems like the engines, but if you had to pick a system that you never want to see MEL'd, most people say the ACARS is one of those systems. I would much rather take a day without the APU. It's a pain in the butt doing starts without an APU and taxiing up to the gate without an APU, waiting for someone to hook up the ground power before you can even shut down the engines. That's a pain in the rear end. But the nice thing about the APU in op, and it's one of those ones where you look at it and you're like, oh, this is going to be a long day every time you see that APU in op MEL. It's one of those ones where you look at it and it's like, oh, it's going to be a pain in the butt, but it's actually such a short effect on the flight itself. Basically, the engine starts, and then the taxi in and shut down at the gate are the only things affected by the APU being in op. Most of the time, during the flight, we're not really affected by the APU being in op. Whereas the ACARS is used so continuously throughout the flight to supply information to and from the flight deck that without it, you just feel lost. And it's not even that you're lost, it's just that you have to work so much harder than you're used to try and get information in a timely fashion, and some of the information just doesn't come in. Weight and balance, making sure that we have the correct zero fuel weight and center of gravity in the FMS. Guess what? We're going to have to call up load on the radio and get those numbers read to us manually instead of printing them off the ACARS. All those things that you kind of take for granted that just roll off the ACARS when you need them. Not the case when that system goes offline. And even remembering to get the up and the down times and phone them in back to the station. What a pain in the butt to try and do that manually sometimes. So yeah, if there's one system that I just really makes me cringe now when I see it's unserviceable, it's the ACARS system. It's so essential to modern flights. That being said, I don't think PNDG has any simulation of it really at all. I think the idea was that if they ever do launch their global flight ops, which I think was promised 3 years ago now, maybe more, and still never quite saw the light of day yet. I think it exists still. I think it's still in a closed beta type state, but yeah, doesn't exist. Doesn't exist in a public state yet, anyways. But yeah, what a lengthy process to kind of get through a flight without that ACARS system. So one of the things I like about the Phoenix is they do a very, very nice job of simulating the ACARS integration in their FMS in the Phoenix A320. It's so good, it simulates all the data link of the flight plan and the takeoff data and performance data and all that stuff. All those links are simulated. It's very well done. And so much of what we do to try and minimize user input error is we downlink a lot of these stuff through the ACARS system, the flight plan and the performance data and all that, to try and avoid having to type in everything manually, so that we might make a mistake typing stuff in, because we will. It's not a question of if, it's just a question of when you will make a mistake typing stuff in. So if we can get the computers to talk directly to each other and then we just validate what they put in, we're much more likely to get the correct information into the computer at the end of the day. Anywho, that's a nice long rant. we have a little bit more time to rant about one more topic, which is something else I wanted to chat about on this stream today. And coming up to a diesel waypoint here for the next waypoint, and that was kind of a little bit of an update on the not the FSIM studios, the FltSim Studios Embraer E-Jet project, which we kind of talked about in the last stream. And since the last stream, it did go into a public early access mode where you can purchase the aircraft and get it in its early access state. It is not a great state, and I think I said this in the stream, and I say it right now again. It's not in a finished state by any means. So if flying an unfinished software product makes you nervous, just don't buy it for now. But know that the price will go up. Those that have opted into early access are getting a discount. The price of the end product will go up as the features start to get really fleshed out and finalized. It's not in a great condition right now because it relies, although they have a pretty good rendition of all the different pages within their FMS, it still on the backside relies on Asobo's FMS system, which we all know is pretty poor. It does only the most basic tasks, and it doesn't even do them particularly well. So there's a completely rewritten, customized FMS coming, but it's not done yet. So until that comes out, it's a very rough airplane to try and fly. The systems are pretty good. I'd say the systems are probably about 50% of the way there, maybe 60% of the way there. There's lots of room for improvement in the systems, but they're definitely not bad, and the look of the airplane is very nice. The 3D modeling is very good. That is definitely the star of the aircraft so far. The systems are kind of coming along. The FMS, very rudimentary, but it is being completely rewritten, so there will be a very good FMS eventually. But it is nice to see that it seems like a little bit of the backlash at the FltSim Studios team has kind of calmed down a little bit. When they first announced they were going into an early access and talked about some of the stuff that wasn't available, they got a lot of heat, and I think some of it was justified. Some of it was just whining by people who felt entitled to a fully functional airplane the second someone says they're doing it. All right, there's transition. So set 2978. Transition set 2978. I think, or I don't know what I'm supposed to say here. What am I supposed to say? I am constantly looking at the screen still here. Yeah. Transition set altimeter 2978. Transition set altimeter 2978. There, now we got it.
2978 set.
So yeah, a lot of people in the beginning were very resistant. Said, "Oh, you shouldn't even be releasing it at this point." And maybe there is some validity to that statement, but they did say it was early access. They did say the airplane is unfinished. The videos, I think, looked really slick, and I think they were perhaps a little bit misleading in that they were too slick. They made it look like the airplane was probably like 60 to 70% done, like release is imminent in the next several months, when really it is still they are still planning on it being a year away from the full release. The videos made it look really slick because the graphics are quite nice, the visuals are quite nice, but the systems they're getting fleshed out, and the FMS is pretty lousy at this point. So people really got an uproar and said, "Oh, you're just trying to scam people and whatnot." And there were some statements I think the studio made that were not great. That sort of they were a little bit awkward. They kind of implied that people didn't kind of know what they were doing with the airplane. I think some of those statements were a bit incorrect. But I will say this about the studio is that they really they listened to the community feedback, and I think they responded to it pretty well. They acknowledged that maybe they built up the expectations a little bit too high, higher than they should be, than the airplane deserves in its present state. And I think they became even more crystal clear about what was currently available in the aircraft and what is still a planned future implementation. So I think I think that the launch went perfectly smoothly. The launch announcement and the launch stream went perfectly smoothly. No, I don't think it did. I think there were some mistakes made. I think the developer learned from them, though. I think they sort of saw how the community reacted, and they really kind of wanted to make sure that it was crystal clear what was coming in this package, in this initial early access package, which we're getting, what you weren't getting. And I think they kind of acknowledged that. They really kind of put that all together, and I think that I think they responded to the community in a pretty healthy way at the end of the day. So I think there were some missteps in the beginning, but I think they've kind of picked it up and said, yeah, we realized we went astray in a couple places. We're going to fix what we did wrong and make it better for next time. So you know, I'm happy to see that. It's easy to make mistakes. The tough part sometimes is apologizing for them and learning from them. And I think that in this case, FltSim Studios did kind of, I won't say they apologized for them, but they realized their errors. They were humbled a little bit by some of the stuff that was said, and I think that I think they're moving in the right direction. So at this point, anybody that still is kind of riding them about the aircraft not really being ready, I think you're being a little bit over the top now. They definitely kind of changed their tune on a few things, and I think it's more in line with what they should be saying for where the aircraft is. So now, you know, now it's coming down to, and I think a bunch of people changed their tune after the developer sort of changed their tune. They're like, okay, now it seems like they're being a little bit more honest, a little bit more open about what's going on. You know, I may not buy the product, but at least I respect them for their honesty and their openness. So I think that has sort of come across now, and I'm happy to say that I think that's come across now. I'm just going to get the engine NTAs on before I have a chance to forget here. And a lot of people have kind of changed their tune and said, okay, you know, it's not a state that I want to buy it in, but I respect what you're trying to do, and you're trying to, you know, make enough money to pay the developers for the development period. You know, keep the studio going without having to resort to, or without having to fall into bankruptcy or anything. So they kind of, a lot of people have mellowed. There are still a few haters, and it's sad to me, because at this point the haters are just there hating for the sake of it, for the sake of hating. They're just, oh, it's a terrible product. It's not ready for the prime time. Yes, it's not ready for the prime time. All the developers will probably acknowledge that. You know, certainly all the test team, I think, will acknowledge that it's not ready for the prime time. There's lots and lots of stuff still not quite right in it. It's being worked on piece by piece. They've already kind of announced the first update, which is going to be a bit more of a hot fix than a planned upgrade that's coming out faster than they'd originally anticipated, and the first kind of update that's not just a hot fix is still planned to come out on the same day. So they haven't even delayed that. They've just sort of put out an interim hot fix to deal with a couple of issues that people have brought up. So there definitely seems like they're reactive to what's going on in the FltSim community, and there's still people that are harping on them. And at this point, most of the people that are really harping on them, I think, are just becoming trolls at this point. These guys are trying to put their heart and soul into an airplane. They're trying to be honest about what they're doing, what the state of the airplane is, and there's only so much you can do. There are going to be people that are just going to hate on you no matter what you do, and it seems like that's where that's the point they're getting to at this point. So I certainly I wish them good luck. I think in the end the airplane's going to be a really good product. Set 245 manually. Approach checklist. Approach checklist.
Approach checklist. Altimeters.
2978 set.
2978 set. Approach checklist complete. 10,000.
It's the easiest approach checklist in the world.
Cabin crew, prepare for landing.
Alright, seatbelts are back on, that's all good, landing lights are on. Alright, here we go, we're setting up for our downwind. Portland's coming up there. Hopefully we'll break out at a reasonable altitude and get to see something out here today. But yeah, it bugs me a little bit, like this is an unknown studio as well. Like the FltSim Studios, it's not a total unknown, but they're a relatively new studio. They've only released a couple of products. They've been relatively simple products. Nothing nearly as complicated as an Embraer, but they're a relatively new studio, and people are kind of comparing them to other studios that have screwed them in the past. That I paid early access for this airplane, 4 years ago, and it's still in early access state. It still hasn't the full version still hasn't been released. Yes, I get it. I get when you're suspicious that you've been burned in the past, but you can't judge a new studio based on that on the studios that have not done well. Yes, it's not a great product right now, but every airplane at some point looks like this one. Looks like the Embraer, where it's just not a finished product, and that people are testing it. Should it be released to the public? I tended to agree that it probably was too early. That until at least the new FMS was finished, I thought it should have stayed in. But I don't get paid by the company. I am not in charge in any way, shape, or form. I don't make those kind of decisions. At the end of the day, the people you know, people looked at the accounts, said we kind of need at least some revenue. We'll do an early access. It's not great, but hopefully, you know, as long as you're open about it, as long as you're not promising something you're not delivering at this point in time, and that's what they're. I think it was kind of implied in the beginning. I think they've become more clear about what's involved right now. So I'm happy to see that. Anyways, should probably shut up with my ranting now and just get on with flying this airplane down into Portland there, because she's coming up pretty quick. There's the 5,000 feet at what's that fix? 5,000 feet is at micro, so yeah, it looks like it's got a nice decel waypoint in there planned out, because I think we have to cross micro at 210 knots. Yeah, 240 at full, so we should be at 240, so we're within the plus or minus 10 knots of the flight test standard anyways, so that's fine. We'll get 240 knots in there now, and when we hit that decel waypoint, you know what, actually we could probably just go back into speed management at this point. It'll keep us under the 250 knots that will lose me some points in my pilot's life career. Anyways. Alright, we're not doing too bad here. We're TAT +2. One last look at the feed pilot window. There's nothing online for Portland. I'm just going to pull up VATSIM on my other screen here to see if there's anybody flying in and out of Portland. I'm going to make radio calls anyways, but just to kind of give me a sense of, is there anybody I need to sort of look for here? Kind of using all the tools at my disposal, which is what you do when you're a pilot. You do everything you can, use all the tools you can. There are some other aircraft inbound to Portland, but nobody anywhere close to it anyway, so we're pretty much on our own here at Portland today. So what I might do, just for the fun of it, is load up the FSLTL traffic here. Please start it and then reopen. Oh, I can't start it with the sim, right? I can't start it with the sim. Silly me. Alright.
$1,000.
Here comes the fly-by-wire installer, FS traffic injector. And that's 1,000 to go. Alright, now it's going to put a whole bunch of airplanes down on the ground. Yeah, there we go. Target's starting to show up on there. Now we've got, let's see, 4 IFRs, 10, 4 airlines, 10 GAs, 9 VFRs hanging out. Alright, not too bad. Alright, how are we doing temperature-wise? +4 on the TAT, good. We should be good in a few minutes here. Hopefully at least we'll see some airplanes this way. Portland traffic. Alaska 207 is 10 miles southwest of the field, descending through 5,000, and planning an ILS 10 left. Alright, so speed's rolling back to 210, which is fine. We can do 210 clean. Boy, it got dark in these clouds, didn't it? No rain. Alright, I'm going to put up terrain on this side here.
Flight deck. Okay, thanks. Captain, the cabin is secure.
Roger. Further descents available. Put the weather radar up here just because I think it works in this aircraft anyways, but it does work in other airplanes in this sim now, so. It's going to show us anything. Well, we're kind of breaking out the bottoms here anyways. Alright, and refresh my memory. What was the MS, not GSX, although actually GSX is good actually to get running. But I was actually looking for the MSA, so we're kind of turning on the downwind here. MSA is 3,500, and Buxom crossing height is 3,000, so we'll go down to 3,500, then we'll go towards Buxom here. So go 3,500, go level change, keep the speed at 210 knots, and the other thing we can do, what do we say, Charlie 14, right? What's the gate? No, not that. Come on, GSX, you can do it. There it is. So at KPDX, there we go. Gate Charlie 14, I believe we said. Alaska Airlines, thank you. Alright, so once we get to pub. We'll turn right, head towards Buxom there and join final there at Buxom.
1011.
Roger. Alright, it's 45 descending 35. Pretty much. Zero 10 heading. Nice square base. Let's sequence those waypoints. So inbound course to Buxom is 103. Execute that. Now we got a nice line to look at there. Flaps 1.
Speed check. Flaps 1 set.
Alright, speed's 190. There's somebody flying around down there, VFR. See a little dot straight ahead there? Alright, there's alt acquire, there's alt hold. And just get like about 1 mile closer here. And then we'll turn final. Ooh, this guy's not trying to land in Portland too. This is not some AI traffic trying to land in Portland. Alright, so there's 070. And we'll arm approach mode. BOR loc, glide slope are armed. Flaps 5.
Speed check.
Alright, here comes the localizer. Here's lope.
Flaps 5 set. Checked.
Glide slope's just coming to life there, so that's looking good. Definitely some aircraft flying now thanks to the FSLTL traffic. It's a little gray and dreary. Not too bad. Here's glide slope. Let's approach altitude 4,200 feet is set. Speed set to 170. I think we're just getting the airport into sight here. Flaps 10.
Speed check. Flaps 10.
Gear down.
Gear down.
Alright. Flaps 15. Flaps 15.
Speed check. Flaps 15 set.
Flaps 25. Flaps 25.
Speed check. Flaps 25.
Flap 30.
Speed check.
Landing check.
Flaps 30 set.
Landing checklist.
Landing checklist. Engine star switches.
Continuous.
Double check that, please. Speed brake.
Armed.
Landing gear.
Down 3 green. Down.
Flaps.
Flaps 30 green light.
Landing checklist complete.
Portland traffic, Alaska 207 is a 4-mile final, runway 10 left. Alright, that's good enough for today, I think. Let's disengage the autopilot and have some fun.
Stable.
Roger.
Minimums.
Continue. Landing. Landing.
Speed brake up. Reverse is normal.
Best landing I ever did.
Roger. Water brake disarmed. 60 knots.
Used up way more runway than anticipated there. Kind of glanced away on final, and that was not a good idea. She kind of started drifting as soon as I did that. I think she's doing it before that even. Well, we got here safely. Didn't bang up the airplane. Okay to clean up.
Roger.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the conclusion of our flight. Please remain seated with your seatbelts fastened until the captain has turned off the seatbelt sign and the aircraft is parked.
Portland traffic, Alaska 207 is clear of runway 10 left, taxiing to terminal.
We'd like to thank you for flying with us today. We appreciate your business and hope to see you again on a future flight.
Alright, we don't need those turn off lights anymore. I'm going to try not to forget to start the APU this time before we get to the gate, but we'll wait a moment before we start it. Well, that wasn't the best landing I ever did. I think I still need more practice in this airplane and this sim. It feels different than it did in the P3D world. Maybe it's just me. I also note that he didn't make any minimums calls, even though I have a minimum set. I have 372 set. The aircraft itself, the GPWS system, didn't make any approaching minimums calls or anything like that, which is a little bit odd, because it should make those calls. Alright, so we gotta go past the terminal, around, and into the alley. But overall, that wasn't too bad. That was a nice length flight. That wasn't too long at all. Yeah, Mac, you're down. Thank you for your support. Hey, exactly. It wasn't safe. It wasn't a greaser, but I mean, it wasn't unsafe. It wasn't a greaser, but it was. We got the airplane down safely on the pavement within touchdown zone. Yeah, it was a little bit odd. It did not. Something was felt a little bit wacky with the approach. Like, it didn't call minimums, and I noticed it wasn't calling any rad alt L2s really. So it's kind of up to me. And it's funny, but like, you become very dependent upon that as well. You become very dependent on those rad alt callouts to sort of help you out, especially when you're new to an airplane and you're kind of learning the feel of this airplane. This airplane sits very low compared to other narrow body airliners. This airplane sits funny. This airplane sits very low. It always has. It's just part of the nature of the airplane and how it was designed. When it was designed, it was designed to get in and out of unimproved airports, like airports that maybe didn't even have like air stairs, let alone jet bridge. So a lot of the original 737s, they had built-in air stairs, and that was one of the reasons why it was so low, was to make it very easy for the stairs. The stairs didn't be very long, but also so the cargo doors are very close to the ground, because the idea was that a lot of the time you're going to end up at smaller outstations where there may not be any servicing equipment. The closest thing you may have is a guy pulling a cart behind a tractor.
3 minutes.
And so the fuselage is very intentionally low to the ground so that guys could load the fuselage without having to even have a belt loader. Which they do at most major airports, but that's the heritage of this aircraft. When it was designed in the 60s, a lot of smaller regional airports did not have any kind of services or facilities to service an airliner. So the idea was it was basically going to be self-sufficient at most of the places it went. It brought its own stairs. It was so low to the ground that all the guy had to do was stand up and he could throw a bag right into the hold. Then the Airbus came along. By the time the Airbus came along, most smaller regional airports had at least some sort of infrastructure. They maybe, you didn't have like 40 or 50 gates, but you had 2 or 3 gates with jet bridges, or you had an air stair system. All that support infrastructure was there, so Airbus didn't need to design it that way. But yeah, so the 737, you sit very low. I think the eye to wheel height is something like 10 feet or something like that in the 737, whereas when you get in the Airbus, you're now up to 14 feet. You're sitting quite a lot higher, so it feels very different when you try to fly that airplane. And especially as you're learning an airplane, you kind of need that rad alt to help sort of count you out. Once you sort of get the visual sense of it well, then you don't need as much. Start the APU.
Starting the APU.
I feel like he's making fun of me. Alright, we're going to turn here. At least we got a nice mix of airplanes on the gates today here. Hopefully nobody's sitting on our gate. But yeah, as a simmer, like, I try to be as real and professional as possible, but at the same time, like, I openly admit that the 737 is not my bird. I don't know it well. I don't fly it often. I haven't spent 4 months training to fly the 737, so I don't know it well. So I do make mistakes. I do make errors in judgment for sure. I don't judge it particularly well. Now there appear to be 2 airplanes mating right there, which probably means one of them is probably a VATSIM plane and one of them is probably not. Yeah, there's at least one guy logged in here somewhere in Portland. So one of these airplanes that's logged in is a VATSIM pilot, probably. Alright, so we're going to gate Charlie 14. I just need to figure out exactly where
APU on the buses.
Thank you. Where Charlie 14 is. So 20, 18, 16, so see if I can see any gate numbers as we go in here, but it's one of these ones here. Oh, there's numbers on the pavement. That's 18. Oh, that's weird that almost all these gates are doubled up. FSLTL is doubled up almost all these gates. That's not good. Or is it that there's default scenery here? Because some of these airports have aircraft available. I can't remember if Portland is one of these airplanes. So let's just play with this a little bit. Let's remove FSLTL. This is gate 14. Lights and doors.
Check. Cabin crew, disarm doors and cross check.
Alright, so I just removed all the FSLTL planes, and these are what's left. So these are from the sim. So these are what FltSim put at this airport when they built it as static aircraft. close do you want me to get here, buddy? Like, are we not? Nope, we're not actually touching the stairs, but boy, does it look like it, doesn't it? Alright, those are on. We can go seatbelts off. Please remember to submit your flight. Thank you, I will. Alright, he's going to do the whole shutdown flow now. Off. Alright, let's just get the GSX going here.
The boarding requested.
Shutdown checklist.
Shutdown checklist. Fuel pumps off. Probate. Auto. Hydraulic panel set. Flaps.
Flap 0. Up.
Parking brake.
Set.
Engine start levers.
Cut off.
Weather radar.
Off.
Off. Shutdown checklist complete.
Alright, we are here, ladies and gentlemen, once again. Another flight successfully completed. Yeah, these are all static scenery aircraft, I guess. But it's funny how the parking spots still exist so that FSLTL is able to put parking spots or aircraft in there. That's kind of funny like that. Anywho, that is it for our flight from San Francisco to Portland. A quick submit flight. Okay, thank you. Submit the flight, yes. And we have another flight logged in our pilot life career, and we are actually starting to make some decent money now because we're working for Alaska Airlines as an FO, and we actually get a decent hourly salary here. What are we up to? 3107. I think my previous salary was like 16 bucks, so it's nearly double what I was making before, just because I came to a bigger airline, Alaska Airlines. And I was looking at this, and it's kind of funny. If you go and look at this, and I'm just going to set this to September 1st as the start date, but look at the finance report here for my career. I go to the second field, and so here is my pay that I got over the various streams that I did for the last season, for season 8, and then here's season 9, and double my weekly income here. It's not much, really, is there small little things, because I'm only doing one flight a week on average, if even that, so I'm not really making all that much, but it's just funny to look at even at the comparison, like how much money I made just doing one flight in this week versus some of these weeks I did two flights, and I still didn't even make that much. Just because it's a bit longer legs, but it's also a much better paycheck, so I'm actually making a little bit of money. It's still not great. I still don't, at the end of the day, have all that much money. I got $3,200 in my bank account, so it's really not that much. But I am building up my experience points, building up the number of flights I've logged in here, and yeah, otherwise we're, the most important thing is we're having fun. It gives us a great mission, a great reason to get going here in the day, so I'm certainly enjoying it. So, but that's it for me today. It's about an hour left to pick up the kids, but I cannot squeeze another flight in that time for sure. So we will definitely be doing one soon. But there we go, pretty good score, 96. Very respectable score. But for our next flight, we go from Portland, and we take the 737 all the way down to, I believe it is LAX, Portland to... oh, actually, no, sorry, I stand corrected. It's Burbank. It's not LAX. We go all the way down to Burbank on the next one. So that'll be kind of a fun one. Burbank's a really interesting airport to get into. It's kind of nestled in a valley. A little bit tight to get in there, so there's lots of interesting visual approaches and some tight turns towards final at the last minute there. So yeah, we flew to Burbank I think 2 seasons ago, and that was an entertaining little airport to get into. So we're going to go back to Burbank again, back to Bob Hope Airport in Burbank. But that is a flight for another day, for another week. In the meantime, guys, I'm going to call it a day. I hope you guys all had fun. Thought I turned off those taxi and landing lights, but I can see they're still on. But anyways, I'm just going to ignore that for now. But yeah, thank you guys so much for flying with me. I hope you had fun, and I hope you'll like the stream. And please continue to subscribe to this channel and to the YouTube channel as well. For those of you that are interested in the Embraer, I did start posting some how-to tutorials in my YouTube channel on the Embraer. I've done 2 so far. The third one is about halfway done. I'll post that as soon as it's done. How to get the Embraer up and running, even with the FltSim Studios and the issues it has. It's not a perfect airplane. I really kind of go through in depth exactly how to set up this airplane for flight in quite a detailed fashion. So Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you, Tim, especially Tim Barber. Thank you for sending me that message, letting me know that VATSIM donations are now accepted. So for those of you that are still watching and are fans of the VATSIM network, you can go to donate.vatsim.net. You can donate to support the infrastructure costs of your favorite online network that previously were supported by a very select few people that we should all be very grateful to for over the years supporting this network. But we can all participate and contribute what we can to make that network a little bit better. But in the meantime, guys, enjoy your week. Thank you so much for flying with me, and we will see you guys all in the next stream real soon. Have fun. Take care.